Hi, I'm Dom Taylor, the chairman of the Learning Technologies Conference, and we're here in London at the Learning Technologies Summer Forum. I have with me Dharmesh Makwana, General Manager Video, and Milo Hancock, Technical Production Specialist at Dreamtek. And we're looking at 360 video. What is it? What's it good for? And how can people get started with it? Guys, good to have you with us.
Hi.
360 video, can you just quickly explain what is it?
So normally 360 videos is a selection of cameras. We've actually got an example of what we've been using today at Learning Tech. It's a simple GoPro rig. We've got currently 6 GoPros in here in an array that means we can cover 360 degrees of camera. A field of view. So 360 video means you can capture everything around you. I mean, that's pretty much it in the simplest way, but it's how you stitch it together, which means that you can actually watch it in a format like YouTube or on the Facebook or as a training video.
And you can explore that once that video's online, you can actively explore that 360 video.
We had this on stage. It was recording our keynote, John Husband. It was recording me as well as I introduced him. That will then be stitched together and you can put it in a format that YouTube can accept it.
Yes, so it's relatively, well, it's a timely process, but it's relatively simple to stitch it all together. The issue is when it has to be the correct format for YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get that correct format, it is simple as uploading it. And then you can use, if you've seen a 360 video already, you can use your key controls just to look around, look at the subject of the image, and yeah, it's...
Well, let's explore that in a minute. But firstly, isn't this just AR with a different name, augmented reality?
Well, augmented reality is slightly different. That's more of having, say, an iPad, and you have tracking points on a room, and you can hold up your iPad and look at 3D objects in a space. As for this, is you can record the whole space, implement things in the space, and watch it on any platform.
Okay, so you're not led. You have a 360 environment you can explore, whereas with AR, you are more restricted in what you're able to do.
Limited to the size of your screen, basically.
All right, and then of course the other question is the other acronym. It sounds like VR. Sure, is this close to virtual reality? Is it a poor man's virtual reality?
It's quite the opposite, really. It's a lot harder to get a 360 video that looks really good and looks very professional. As for in VR, that's a virtual space, so you have to build this in programs such as Unity or any game engine.
Right.
And that's, again, virtual. That's not a real setting, as for 360 videos in a real space. Okay,
so obviously my mind is buzzing here. I can think of, it'd be fun to do it. I'm not looking forward to seeing myself in 360. I think it's going to be ghastly, but I'm looking forward to exploring it. What are the, and I can think of lots of examples already, but what are the ways you could put 360 to use with learning, for example, Dharmesh?
Well, what we've been doing is, it's really early days in 360. It's really exciting. We're responding to a lot of briefs, so I can't mention names just yet. But it's, if you imagine, if you're part of, rolling out learning at the point of need and you want to throw someone into the shop floor there and then, it's a great opportunity. So someone can cover, the whole of a working area and explore the different elements and the different ways people interact on one space and one video. But I think the other big thing is it encourages the viewer to be inquisitive, to be curious. You're not just watching it and drifting off. You're exploring it yourself, and you're actively going there.
It's not a passive experience.
That's right.
You are encouraged to choose to look at one part or another, to interact with it, to focus on one part. Can you zoom in, zoom out?
Yeah. I mean, depending on how you've recorded it, you can zoom in, zoom out. It would be more of a digital zoom rather than an actual moving in the space. But that's capable in VR. That's where you'd.
But from the creative point, what you want to do is talk about the narrative and the journey and what you want to achieve, and then you tie the technology to that.
What sort of things could you achieve? I can see a putative case study, health and safety, classic example. You walk into an environment and you have to identify the 3 possible causes of a fire, for example, in the space. What other sort of case studies might you be able to have for using this in learning?
I mean, we've spoken to people, where things are, there's an element of complexity in real world situations, engineering, for instance, someone's doing something quite complex, or you've got, a large space that needs to be explored, multiple people working on it. You can kind of go around and look at each part. So I think, you know, things where engineering is definitely something we've had a lot of conversations around.
I met a bloke on a train going from New York to Boston. And he said, yeah, my brother is involved in a major UK airport. I don't want to say which one. And they're using something that sounded very much like this for a wide range of people involved in everything from engineering to offloading baggage, just to help them get their jobs done more efficiently, because you don't have to put them in the literal environment. You can have a simulated environment that's absolutely real. Is that something which people are looking at doing?
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of people talking about it today at the show. They're very interested in having a virtual space that you can interact with. I think the 360 video is great for putting somebody in a real environment and seeing what's going on. There's also the VR side, which is more, you can actually change the scene basically. So you can move things around, you can sort of fix a car as such, you can go into the engine, change stuff like that. So I think it's a very practical way of learning rather than sitting at a desk.
And much low, the obvious example is flight simulators. It's very expensive to get a plane in the air, much cheaper to have people do it on the ground. This is the same thing on a much wider range of uses.
Yeah, absolutely.
And assuming this is not just limited to learning, obviously you could do this in other areas. Presumably sales is usually an area where people are, there's a quite high demand for stuff that will, that you can show will increase people's productivity. Can you see any sales opportunities for people to use this in sales?
Well, already actually we have a VR pod. So we have our studio in a box. It's quite big and it's quite difficult to transport. It's not portable, but we've put it in a VR scene so you can actually sit in the pod and see all the soundproof and all the camera, all the screens and all that lot. So you can bring it to, say, Learning Tech, and we can show it off here without having to bring the whole product.
Very cool.
And property, you know, real estate, high value properties, very likely to be purchased maybe by overseas buyers. There's this justification to get this marketed using 360, so people can really explore.
Sort of through the keyhole for your own home.
Yeah,
I love that.
Right.
What a great idea.
I'm
going to do that just to make myself feel better. It's not a fabulous property, but I think just having a 360 in my own house would be lovely. All right, so we've got the learning opportunity, we've got the sales opportunity. I hadn't thought about that. So great idea, showing off high value assets. How complicated is it to do this? Is it something where you can get your iPhone out and make it happen, or is it a bit more complex than that?
I think the things where, you know, working with an agency can add value is that experience of someone who's talking with multiple creatives and have access to someone who can kind of respond to your brief and kind of explore it in an experienced manner. Then there's also, you know, the power required for the editing side, because if you think one 4K or, you know, 2.5K video takes up a lot of space, but now we're timesing by 6 or sometimes, you know.
So we have so we have 6 GoPros, each one's 2.7K. That adds up to about 15K in total if you put it all in one space. So it slows everything down basically. You need a really powerful machine to actually.
So you literally need the powerful machinery to do it, but presumably need some expertise as well. Yeah,
it's not easy to perfectly align everything and fade the edges. It's a bit of a process.
So the post-production is probably one of the bigger things with 360. But the, you know, the adding location and the ideas, that's the fun bit that, you know, we can develop and talk about. I think the other thing to remember is, and which is a really good thing, is YouTube, really popular platform, the storage is unlimited. So they're being really supportive and helping you build this. So yes, there's a bit of, you know, firepower required in kind of building it. But once you want somewhere to live, there's somewhere free of charge.
Fantastic. Right now, because it's new, is there a certain cache? Is it generating traffic on YouTube just because it's 360? Are people going there just to see what it's like?
I think that's a big thing. So if you want to create some impact on your learning program, that 360 video, you know, as part of that is a nice way of, you know, getting some waves.
All right. So the obvious last question, you know, it sounds exciting. There's a lot to it. I think anybody who's got an organization could probably see some way in which you could use this. I can't just get my iPhone out and get to work with it. What should people do next if they're going to go 360?
Well, I say, you know, the easiest way, super quick way to develop a brief is, you know, you're interested in 360. What is it? What's the lesson you want to teach? What is it? Who is it you want to reach? And then, you know, if you give that to us, we'll come back with a, you know, creative brief. You know, that's enough to start the brief.
Start off with the idea, which is absolutely right, rather than technology, what you're trying to do. Have a conversation with Dreamtek or somebody knows what they're talking about. Take it from there.
Yeah, that's
brilliant. Anything else that you'd like to add at the end here, guys?
Nothing that's going to add much more than what we've already said.
Fantastic.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you very much.
It's great to have you. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Cheers.